Hello, good morning, dear students. This is Professor S.B. Bhendigeri, Department of Economics, taking online classes for PUC first year commerce students. Dear students, in the last class, we have understood how to calculate frequency array with the help of data information, which is an example for univariate frequency distribution calculation. Okay. In today's class, let us understand what is the meaning of bivariate frequency distribution, how to calculate if it is there in the examination. Okay. I have explained the meaning of bivariate frequency distribution in the last class. Let us understand the meaning of bivariate frequency distribution once again over here. Bivariate distribution is nothing but the data is classified on the basis of categorical variables on both horizontal and vertical angle. It is also known as a two-way frequency distribution. Okay, when the available data is classified on both the angles, on vertical angle and as well as the horizontal angle, that kind of frequency distribution is called as bivariate distribution. Okay, look at the calculation part. How to calculate bivariate distribution if it is there in the examination. It is a little interesting, but you have to have patience to understand over here. The picture is given like this in the examination. Okay, and the question is like the data given below, okay, related to the sales and advertisement expenditure of 20 companies. You are required to form a bivariate frequency distribution with the class interval of 62 to 64, 64 to 66 of, for example, advertisement expenditure, and sales, for example, in between the class interval of 115 to 125 and 125 to 135 and so on. If the class interval is given in the question paper, try to understand. If the class interval is clearly mentioned in the question paper, you have to follow the same class interval for your calculation. If it is not given, suppose, sometimes the class interval may not be given in the question paper, only data is given. What to do if such is the problem? For that, you may use either exclusive method or else inclusive method for class interval. Okay, this is very clear, my dear students. If the class interval is given in the question paper, no problem, you have to refer the same class interval. Here it is in the example, it is mentioned. It is 62 to 64, 64 to 66 for advertisement expenditure, and for sales, it is 115 to 125, 125 to 135 and so on. Okay, continuously for that, for example, values, you have to prepare the class interval. Suppose if it is not given, you have to prepare your own method of class interval, for example, either exclusive method or else inclusive method. Here, this calculation is based on exclusive method, for example. Okay. Now let us understand. How many companies are there? 20 companies are there. In the first column, there are 10 companies mentioned over here. Okay. In the first company, okay, there are 10 companies. In the first column, there are 10 companies mentioned. Okay. In the fourth column, again another 10 companies are mentioned. 1 to 10 in the first column, and in the fourth column 11 to 20 companies. These companies are having different sales, for example, and advertisement expenditure. If such is the question, how to prepare bivariate frequency distribution? Okay, now try to understand. Here, first company, look at the first company. First you have to prepare the class interval. Okay, how to prepare class interval? like this. Okay, like this you have to prepare the class interval. On vertical, for example, you have to prepare on vertical axis or angle, you have to prepare the advertisement expenditure, which is represented as x, and on the horizontal angle you have to prepare sales, which is represented as y supposed to be. Okay, as I said, in vertical angle the advertisement expenditure is mentioned. Look at the slide over here, 62 to 64, which is given in the question paper, which is given in that problem in the beginning. Okay, 62 to 64, and last limit, for example, class interval is 70 to 72, for example. Okay, so like this, on vertical angle you have to prepare your own class interval of advertisement expenditure. On horizontal angle you have to prepare your own sales, which is represented as y. It is started with 115 to 125, which is there in the question paper. Okay, 115 to 125, and last value is 165 to 175. Okay, I hope you understood. Whatever value, maximum value is there in that, for example, data information, that has to be come in that, for example, column. Okay, and what is the maximum advertisement expenditure is there, that has to become in the vertical angle of, for example, class interval. I hope you understood. Here, now look at the data over here. In the data, look at the first company. First company is here. The first company's sales is 170 lakh. Okay, first company's sales is 170 lakh, and its advertisement expenditure is 70 lakh. Okay, 170 is the sales expenditure, sales, for example, and advertisement expenditure is 70. How to show it in the, for example, calculation? First you have to see in horizontal angle in that sales of the first company where that 170 is lying. Okay, you have to go to 165 to 175 range or class interval, and again down in sales advertisement expenditure you have to go to 70 to 72, for example. So advertisement expenditure is 70 as you see in the data, and sales is 170. Okay, if such is the situation, these two values are counted as 1 in the calculation. Look at the 165 to 175 column and the 70 to 72 column. Here it is. Okay, both 170 and 70 values are counted as 1. Okay, I hope you understood. Now again go to data information. In the second company, look at the second company status. Second company is having 135 lakh rupees of sales and 65 lakh rupees of advertisement expenditure. Okay, in the second, for example, okay, in the second company is having 135 lakh rupees of sales with 65 lakh rupees of advertisement expenditure. If such is the condition, how to show it? 135 is sales and 165 is advertisement expenditure. Okay, look at the table over here. Okay, what is the value? 135 and 65. 135 is sales and 65 is advertisement expenditure. 135, where 135 is lying. So 135 is falling between 135 to 145 column, and 65 again, where 65 is falling. 65 is falling in the vertical angle. You look at this particular class interval. Okay, sorry. in this class interval 65 is falling, and 135 is falling over here. These two values are counted as 1. There are three values in that 135 to 145 class interval and 64 to 66 class interval of advertisement expenditure. Two more are there. Okay, so these two values are counted as 1. Okay, I hope you understood 135 and 65. Okay, now go to again data information. Here in the data, what is there? In the third company, look at the third company, for example, status. The status of third company is 136 and 65. Okay, 136 and 65. 136 is the sales of that particular company, and 65 is the advertisement expenditure. 136 and 65, where it falls. Again, look at the 135 and 145 class interval of sales, and 64 to 66 class interval of advertisement expenditure. Same. Here value is how much? 136 to 136 is sales and 65 is advertisement. 136 is falling again in this 135 to 145 class interval, and 65 is again falling in 64 to 66, for example, class interval of sales advertisement expenditure. Okay, so again you have to understand one more here. Okay, one more value is there. Okay, these two values are again counted as 1. Now again go to the data information. Okay, in the fourth company status, look at the status of fourth company. Fourth company status is 137 is the sales, and 64 lakh is the advertisement expenditure. Okay, 137 and 64. Okay, here it is fourth one, sorry. Fourth one, 137, 64. Okay, go to data information. 137, where it comes, you have to understand. 137, 64. Okay, 137 again fall in the class interval of 135 to 145. Okay, I hope you understood. 137 is again falling in the class interval of 135 to 145, and the advertisement expenditure, which is on the vertical angle, okay, that is how much? 64. 64 is again lying in the same, for example, class interval of 135 to 145 and 64 to 66, for example, class interval. Okay, see, these three values, these two values are again counted as 1. So there are total of 3 observations falling between 135 to 145 sales and 64 to 66 advertisement expenditure. Okay, like that you have to calculate all the values. Okay, I hope you understood. You have to calculate all the values like this, and you have to make tally on both horizontal and also vertical. When you are making a tally of these values, the sum total of these values must be equal in both horizontal and vertical calculation. Look at the picture over there. Here, between 115 to 125 and 62 to 115 to 125. Okay, and 62 to 64, 64 to 66 and 66 to 68. How many observations, how many values are there if you are supposed to know? There are 4. Okay. Each, for example, value is counted as 2 observations. 2 observations are counted as 1 over there. Okay. That you have to understand. Look at the class interval of 125 to 135. Okay. And for example, in 62 to 64, 66 to 68, 68 to 70, 70 to 72, for example, there are 5 observations. Okay, there are 5 frequencies, what we call it as. Okay, and in the 135 to 145 there are 6, and in 145 to 155 there are 3, and in 155 to 165 there is only 1, and in the last class interval 165 to 175 there is only 1. Okay, so 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 20 horizontally. Look at vertically this. Okay, vertically you have to understand. In vertical calculation, in the advertisement expenditure column, in 60 to 64 there are 3 observations. 3 are there. Look at here, 3. Here there are 2 and this one is 1. Okay, total are 3, for example. In 64 to 66 there are 4 observations. Okay, 1 plus 3, these are 3. Okay, these are 3. Total, for example, values, observations are 4. Okay, and in 66 to 68 vertical, for example, calculation, in that class interval there are 5 observations, and in 68 to 70 there are 4, and in 70 to 72 there are again 4. So this must be equal to 20 here. 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12, 12 plus 4 16, 16 plus 4 is again 20. This 20 must be equal on both vertical and horizontal calculation. I hope you understood, my dear students. It is very interesting, but you have to focus over there and you have to have a lot of patience to understand. Okay, with this this particular topic is completed. Now let us understand the next and the last topic of the third unit, that is loss of information. Here you may have one objective question or else one 4 marks question in the examination on this particular topic. Loss of information is nothing but the information which does not show the details that are found in raw data is known as loss of information. It means what? Whatever raw data you are collecting, when you are going for further calculation, there you are getting some loss of information. Everything you are not able to display. When you are not able to display everything in your further calculation of any kind of, for example, research, that is called as loss of information. Here 2 important aspects are there in case of loss of information. First one is, it denotes the actual loss of information by the destruction of record. Sometimes loss of information may happen because of destruction of record. And again, in the second one, it denotes the failure to extract all the information. Sometimes we are not able to extract whatever information we have because of a lot of problems. It is not possible to extract all the information. So these 2 possibilities are there in case of loss of information. And there is a loss of information in classifying raw data. Once the data are grouped into classes, individual observations has no significance in further statistical calculation. It is very interesting. The heart of the meaning of loss of information is there. There is a loss of information in classifying raw data. Once the data is grouped into classes, if you are grouping the data into classes like 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 like that, individual observations has no significance in further statistical calculation. When you are going for further calculation, these individual observations, individual frequencies are not taken into account. Example, take the example. Suppose the class interval is 20 to 30. This class interval 20 to 30 contains suppose 6 observations like 25, 25, 20, 22, 25 and 28. There are 6 observations falling between 20 to 30 class intervals suppose. When these data are grouped in the class interval 20 to 30, the letter provides only the number of records in that class as frequency is equal to 6. Okay, it means what? Those 6 observations are, for example, minimized as only 6 figure. Okay, so in that 20 to 30 class interval, we may say that only 6 observations are there, but not their actual values. We are not supposed to say the actual values of that 6 observations. We are saying only 6 observations are falling between 20 to 30 interval. Okay, I hope you understood. And assume to be equal to the middle value or class mark of that class interval is 25. Okay, we may also assume that the class mark of that particular class interval is equal to 25. You know why it is 25? Class mark is calculated as lower value and the plus upper value. Okay, the sum total of lower value plus upper value divided by 2 is called as, for example, class mark. Here the lower value is 20 and upper value is 30. 20 plus 30 is 50. 50 divided by 2 is 25 is the class mark. Further, statistical calculation is based on only on the class mark. Thus, the use of class mark instead of actual value of the observations in statistical methods involves in considerable loss of information. Okay, when we are using class marks, okay, and class limits, for example, actual values are not displayed. Okay, so because of that, there is a possibility of loss of information. I hope you understood, my dear students. With this organization of data topic is completed. Okay.